Brian Twining, it's almost midnight in Phoenix. It's almost 11 o'clock here in California. You've been at the track for 2 days.
Pretty much it feels like 2 entire days.
Yeah, recording from an undisclosed hotel room in Phoenix, Arizona. So be patient with Brian's Wi-Fi. It's spotty at best, but we are here to talk all things NASCAR Cup champion. We'll build some DraftKings lineups. We will maybe make some bets and just talk general excitement, anticipation, and ultimately the final race. We'll have to pour one out for this 2024 NASCAR season as we'll have to turn the calendar and get ready for 2025. All of that and more on today's Angle of Pursuit podcast.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining, Justin Allgaier is your Xfinity champion. But we are here to talk all things Cup Series. How's it going? How's the track? You ready for the championship race tomorrow?
I am beyond ready, especially after watching Martin Truex Jr. go out there and pull the son of a bitch. And then getting to ask him the question of what the 19 team's goal was for him in his last race and what a successful final race for Martin Truex Jr. looks like. And his response was, I want to win. It's, you talk about it from a athletic perspective, like when guys go out or players go out, they want to win the championship. They want to win a Super Bowl. Kevin Harvick, we talked about it last year here at Phoenix, probably his best track, but Martin Truex Jr. puts the thing on pole, becomes the first non-championship Ford driver to do so here in Phoenix. This is a year after he started on the front row, finished 6th in this race. And so, it's almost as if the stars are aligning for Martin Truex Jr. to have a walk-off win and bookend a storybook weekend.
Yeah, it would certainly be something. Interesting results from qualifying. Interesting results from Friday practice, which I think was interesting.
Yes,
a good barometer. It was good to see all the cars on track be able to come into the garage, get work on, and then get back out there. And then obviously some people set up for qualifying trim. Some people just were trying to figure out their long run setup, all of that good stuff. So let's look at DraftKings. Let's talk through the lineups, and we'll mix in the notes and thoughts and all the stuff from practice and qualifying and whatnot as we go. So let me present my screen. This one. We have two 11Ks, four 10Ks. Gonna group them all together, go through it. Ryan Blaney, 11-2, starting 17th. Byron starting 8th at 11. Logano, front row, 10-8. The two old dudes on the front row. How about that? Tyler Reddick starting 10th at 10-5. Christopher Bell starting 7th at 10-3. Kyle Larson, an even 10K, starting 4th. Where does your attention and excitement immediately go?
You're going to have to Sharpie Ryan Blaney into your lineups. I mean, I tweeted it out, or I was responding to, I think it was Wormy today. This is basically just YRB, the sequel. Finished second at Homestead. He won Martinsville in a walk, in a win or go home situation, and he goes out and he qualifies this year 17th, last year 15th, and then goes out and dominates the field come Sunday. Everything is looking eerily similar to what we saw last year when Blaney won his first championship. And, despite his teammate, Joey Logano, being extremely fast in qualifying, something I kind of, I think we should have all anticipated, knowing how good that team does do on Saturday before the race. But that doesn't come without its fails. I mean, they failed Tech the first two times going through. And so as a result, he did not have the ability to select his pit stall. NASCAR is selecting that for him. So who the hell knows where he's starting the race? I haven't really looked, having focused on Xfinity all day. And then,
Logano?
the other, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
I'll
the other
pull it up
championship,
as you're talking because I did see it.
yeah. And then Reddick, he didn't have the qualifying effort that I think I had anticipated or what he had anticipated. He admitted as much during his post-qualifying quick press conference that they were a little disappointed based on what they've done all season. But, starting in the top 10, I think you have to start with Ryan Blaney, though. Starting 17th, who cares? He's the most expensive guy. He's the best car in practice. Like, he's going to be strong. He's going to be up front.
Yeah. So Byron has the first pit stall. Blaney has the 10, which is before start finish. Reddick has 17. Obviously, no one in front of him. And then
That's
the
good.
22 is
He's right in between Harrison Burton and the 50. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a precarious position to say the least. Yeah, I think Blaney is my favorite click. It's going to be almost impossible to not start lineups without him.
Oh, yeah.
Starting 17th, best car in practice, super fast. And, people forget, when people don't forget, but people might forget. The year Logano won the championship, Blaney was the best car, but set his teammate up to win the championship and made sure that got done. So
Yep.
if there was just a normal spring race, he wins that race going away. It's just hard to fade Blaney here. He's just so damn good. And this track fits him perfectly.
Exactly. And I was just gonna piggyback off of what you were just talking about with Blaney actually running second behind Logano in 2022. We've seen this on numerous occasions before between these two teammates at different types of tracks too, where Joey looks great in qualifying and Ryan Blaney is just kind of blah. And then come actual race, Blaney's the one that can actually make his way through the field and Logano goes the opposite direction. Yeah. Not that I'm expecting that because, Joey's had the 2 weeks and he's been very open about the fact that he thinks that this gave him a decided advantage over the rest of the playoff drivers. And he's proven it before. So, I mean, who's to doubt him? But, just the data says Blaney's going to go up and Logano's going to fall. So, you gotta play Blaney here with the furthest starting back playoff guy too.
Yeah. I mean, just given where he's starting, given our expectations, given the betting odds and from a championship perspective and from a race winning perspective, he's the favorite basically both spots. So it's really hard to not click it. And, if you really want to get unique, I think you do it elsewhere. I don't know how you don't click Blaney, cash, GPP, whatever. Yeah. Beyond there, Byron 8, Logano 2, Reddick 10, Bell 7, Larson 4. Any of those guys extremely compelling if you had to pick one? If not, who would it be?
Well, I'm gonna go away from my guy Tyler Reddick here, and I gotta say, starting 8th, I think William Byron, you could make a case for him being, starting a little bit further back than I think we would have anticipated. We're just seeing how fast he was in practice, and then during the first stage of qualifying, he was the second fastest car, and so he must have biffed his second qualifying lap. So I expect to see a little more speed out of them. And I do expect that team to be running top 5 pretty much the entire day. And it's the playoff, it's the championship race. Who the hell knows what's going to happen at the end here? He could be running 3rd and Blaney be running 2nd and then battling it out for the win there. That would not surprise me one bit. So I think out of this group, it's Blaney, Byron, and then to a lesser extent, Reddick, which, when we transition over to betting odds, look, of the 4 guys, he looked the worst. It's non-debatable. However, we talked about this 2 years ago with Joey Logano. He had the longest odds entering the race. You and I were like, well, that's just stupid. Like, they're racing 3 other guys, not the entire field. So it's not like Reddick has to go out and win the race. You don't have to do that.
No.
Worst case scenario, he could finish 5th and still win the championship. And you get 5 placement points here. Like,
Yeah.
You can't completely count him out.
And I think he might go a little overlooked just because he didn't look very good. He's
Yeah.
not like his Phoenix resume isn't the greatest. He's surrounded by other really impressive names. He's starting 10th, which is interesting enough, but Bell's starting 7th, and the way he looked in the spring, obviously Byron starting 8th, Blaney starting
Mhm.
17th. Like I could see it being hard for people to click that name. So I'm gonna think that he's gonna go underlook. So if you want to be unique, maybe that's the click. But it certainly is interesting. And as you mentioned, when we switch over and talk odds, we'll have some conversations because it doesn't make no damn sense.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've been holding tickets, and we're excited about. I am getting really nervous about not holding anything on Byron. I
I
don't know how
it,
I'm going to get exposure, but
somehow, some way, I will have Byron exposure before we go green tomorrow,
need
just
it.
to cover my ass. So
Need it.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's talk 9Ks. Hamlin, Elliott, Chastain, Truex Jr. Interesting group. 3 of your first 5. Really wish I'd fired on some Ross stuff pre-practice. I couldn't get myself to do it. He's so damn good here. His numbers were a little short, but he's primed for a great run. He could easily do what he did last year. I don't know. Like, if we start with Blaney and then you jump down to the 9K as a potential dominator, are you just grabbing Truex and running for the hills, or do you, like I do, as great as Marty looked on Friday, and the fact that he put it on the pole on Saturday, he could be winning the first to put it in the garage and go fishing or go whatever ATVing out in the hills of Arizona. I
Look,
know I
look.
know he's a Saturday machine, and I know he was awesome. But like, if I told you he finished 23rd and was frustrated with James Small and had a bad day with his car and had all kinds of issues, like, would you be shocked at all?
No, but I think the same argument could be made about Ross Chastain.
Fair, completely
Like,
fair.
like between those two guys, like, I'm not going to put it past either one of them to be the first guy to go a lap down. That being said, 138.8. That is the average amount of laps led from the pole sitter in the 5 Gen 7 races here at Phoenix. Martin Truex Jr. sitting on the pole, just how I led into the show. Martin Truex Jr. said he wants to win. You know, we can look at the finishing results over the past couple of weeks, but you know, this sounds like a guy who does want to get a race win to end his full-time career, and they have not given up yet. Now
Yeah,
that doesn't necessarily mean like if he has a pass-through penalty halfway through the race, that he doesn't just say F it and then mentally fishing. You know, obviously you run the risk there, but I think the numbers tell you like when you get this big of a discount on the pole sitter here at Phoenix, you almost have to jump on that. It's almost
yeah,
too good to be true.
yeah. I think that's a great point. Um, I think Ross and Marty are the 2 most wide range of outcome drivers in the whole field. They could both win and be awesome, or be
Mhm.
checked out and parking it by stage 2.
The one thing I will say about Chastain is I think some people may fall victim to, I don't want to call it recency bias because it's, you know, it's a full year later, but just, I mean, I guess recency bias of him being the first ever non-championship Ford driver to win this race last year and be the most dominant car. And the fact that he
Mhm.
did qualify where he did, I almost think people are going to look at that and be like, oh, he's going to do it again. But when you come
Yeah,
into this race this year, I think you have to also consider the strength of the other guys that are not part of the championship four, like a Kyle Larson, like a Chase Elliott, like Martin Truex Jr., who put it on pole. And I think that's I haven't even talked about Christopher Bell, too. I mean, he came into the week as essentially the favorite to win the race. Like, I just don't see Chastain when you put up against those guys
yeah. And
replicating what we saw last year.
yeah, and Trackhouse was not good on Friday. Like, they were
No.
slow. not putting laps together, not having good long run speed. Sure, he qualified well, but we've seen it before with Ross where he'll seemingly have a rocket in qualifying, and then it sinks like a freaking lead balloon, and he's basically a non-factor for 90% of the day.
Yeah, and he's very similar to like a Joey Logano in the sense that when he qualifies really well, Ross, it's almost as if you just expect him to go backwards because that means that they don't have the long run speed that they usually have when they qualify mid-teens or, close to the 20th range. And then that's when you kind of jump on Chastain because you're like, oh, well, they must like their car in the long run and they were okay giving up that short run speed during qualifying.
Yeah. Let's jump into AKs. Ty Gibbs, Brad Keselowski. We were actually texting a little about this range is really interesting to me. So
Yes.
Gibbs, Keselowski, Briscoe, Buescher, Kyle Busch. I think Brad K is a tough driver to figure out. We've talked about him. We talked about the spring where he was able to basically stay out, got that good time caution, was able to stick to his track position, wasn't really that car. Some of his results aren't very good, but he also looked pretty strong in practice. And we know RFK can be solid. We know that when you have that track position, he could grab it and hold it. The question is, can he move up from 27th, get to a spot where it's going to matter, and then flirt with like kind of a top 10 day? And if he can, then you're loving life. But it's a little concerning. Buescher's right there with him in a similar boat. I like Briscoe, 8,400, shorter, flatter. Love that. But he is starting 12th, and he still chased Briscoe at the end of the day. He's not in that 19. And then KFB, like, what do you do?
Oh, yeah.
He's been like kind of checked out for a long time, but he's also been pretty good at like intermediates. So it's like, what are we doing with this range?
So if Brad Keselowski was like $600 to $800 cheaper, I think I'd be much more interested. But the fact that there are other guys further down this list that are at a much steeper discount, starting a little bit further back, even who offer maybe not necessarily the same ceiling, but from the cost perspective, their upside is so much better than what Brad offers based because I mean, you kind of alluded to it, but most of Keselowski's like really good finishes, a lot of them have come from strategy, and you cannot plan strategy here. You got to go based off of speed, and yeah, maybe Keselowski's a top 10 car, but you're paying $8,600 for essentially just 17 placement points, whereas there are guys further down the list that can give you 15 placement points possibly for 7K or less than that, which allows you to squeeze the Ryan Blaney's and the, William Byrons of the world into your lineups.
And honestly, I might be more interested in his teammate, Chris Buescher, who was second here in the spring, obviously in a similar boat as Brad, as flipped field.
I think he was a little bit quicker than Brad, just slightly.
And I think his recent results prove that. I think this time last year, he was a top 5 car in this race. He has a 15th, a 21st, a 10th. Like, he's been pretty good. He's had some good runs. He even led laps last fall. Like, if you tell me I can save 400, I have a fraction of the projected ownership, and I think I have a higher ceiling, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, I could get behind that. Because Buescher is somebody who I think we've seen before, more so than Brad for some reason, like be able to turn a middling car into a potential race winner come Sunday.
Yeah. And of course, I have the under 1.5 on Buescher, so he's gonna find a way to win that and ruin my bet. Let's talk 7Ks. Interesting group once again.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace, 29th. Alex Bowman, 16th. Austin Cindric, 11th. Joshua Berry.
Backwards.
Huh?
He's going backwards.
Yeah, I want to talk about him because I feel like he's a good person to fade just in general, with two teammates sitting in the playoff, actually fighting for a championship. Like they just gave him a coloring book and said, "Austin, go sit in the corner and figure it out." Like,
That's so funny you say that because I was thinking the same thing. They basically he's gonna get on his radio tomorrow and it's just gonna be static because
Mhm.
everybody's going to be funneling their information to 12 and 22. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll just have sing along songs playing on his radio, and he can just Sunday drive. Daniel Suarez 34th, Austin Dillon 36th. So to Bubba or not to Bubba, because he's going to be popular also. I think you have to figure out, like, you can't do Truex and Bubba and Brad K. I
Oh
think you
yeah,
have
no.
to get off of some of these guys and leverage yourself somewhere. But do you have interest in Bubba at 7,800, given where he's starting?
Yeah, yeah. I think Bubba's a prime candidate here to fill that position that I was just talking about, as opposed to Brad Keselowski. Like I don't think you want to go to both of them because then you put yourself in a tough spot for trying to get the higher echelon guys. I think it's one or the other in this spot.
Yeah.
But Bubba, he's ran strong here. I think he's like 16th, 14th, and like 12th or something of that nature over the last 3 times we've come to Phoenix. And so obviously not his best track, but we've hit on this numerous times in 2024. Like it's almost as if the short track package or short tracks in general have become his strength. And so, closing out the season, they're going to want to run strong. I won't even get into the whole charter BS that's happening right now. Like I don't think they're even thinking about that cuz once again, I will just say like Bubba just seems super chill, not on edge. He's just out there. He's a new dad. Like that's his life.
Yeah.
So everything's peachy right now. So I like him. And then the other guy here, easy click, Josh Berry. He's not going to be a 39th place car. I have a hard time believing that's going to happen. Top 25, top 20, definitely within the possibilities. And for 7,400, I think that's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, even given his top 10 price, like that's not that crazy.
Oh yeah.
This is a fun range. I even like Alex Bowman, 7,700. I think Bowman and Bubba can obviously glean from their teammates that are both in the playoff. Obviously Bowman is going to be, once again, starting a little farther up, might be a little less easy of a click, but I think makes a lot of sense.
But
So
that
I
might
think
have a lot of people avoiding him too,
yeah. 6K, Ryan Priest, Noah Gragson, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse, Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland, Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek. Of this range, Mr. Ryan Priest, 6,900, is probably my favorite click.
Favorite, not even close.
Beyond there,
I'm going to be
kind of.
completely selfish. It's got to be the FRM guys. I have a significant amount wagered on FRM to beat Legacy, and so I really need one of those two guys to
Oh
do some
no.
shit here on Sunday. And similar conversation I just said about Josh Berry. Like I don't expect them to be running 30th or 32nd throughout the day. Like even McDowell, he's looked much better in Phoenix the last few races as he did to begin his career. He was not good here over the first, 3/4 of his life in the Cup Series. But, the last couple of years in the Gen 7 car, he's actually been running decent. And then Ryan Priest, he wasn't fast, single lap speed, and he didn't have a lot of speed late into runs. But the one thing I did notice during the lap by lap data and the fall off stuff is that he managed his tires very well. And I did overhear him on the radio telling his team, like, he was very happy with the fall off and the handling of that car the longer into the run that it got. And this is a guy coming off 2 low teen finishes at Homestead and Martinsville. Short tracks have always kind of been his thing. If you want to even consider Phoenix a 1 mile short track, whatever. But, I expect Priest to go out here and run well. And then again, we go to the scuttlebutt or rumor that is probably true, but they can't officially announce it, that he's moving to RFK to begin 2025 whenever this charter thing, finally gets agreed upon. And who knows, maybe he's getting insight from that team and he's getting a little extra push as the SHR guys are starting to disband.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird situation. There hasn't been as much fall off as I expected, kind of just that team falling apart. But yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense. I think the FRM call is a great point on your part. Yeah, I think it's a little bit easier to make a build that can fit in some of the expensive guys because there is much more compelling options in the 6K range this week. Let's round out the rest of the field. Zane Smith, Justin Haley, Corey LaJoy, Jimmy Johnson, Harrison Burton, Daniel Hemrick, Kaz Gralla, Derek Kraus, Jeb Burton, Chad Fincham, JJ Yaley. The first time they've ran 40 cars in this race. Pretty crazy. Is there a name in the 6K or the 5K and below range that you're like, if you have to squint and see it, it's this person?
Oh, it's the easiest click on the board for me. The Kaz man at only $5,000. Like, I did it last week and look what happened. Even if this dude wrecks, I'll eat the 5 points or the 10 points that he gets us at 5K. And hopefully, my two dominators that we have, which I think is the way that you can build that, are good enough to withstand that type of, or that lack of production.
Yeah. I mean, he is starting 31st, which is a little concerning that, everyone's moving forward. Somebody has to move backwards. Obviously, Burton, get him out. Hemrick, get him out. Jimmy Johnson, get him out.
I mean, he started 32nd and finished 30th in the spring. So, I mean, you're not losing a ton.
Fair.
And do you trust the TMT car, whatever the hell it is, the 44 and the 66 is going to be running like 5 miles an hour slower than
I'd like to avoid that whole range. And I'd like to stop at 6K, but let's see if we can do it. So obviously the first click is going to be Mr. YRB. Second click for you. First click non-named YRB is
Martin Truex Jr.
Ugh.
I think you have to have the pole sitter here. I just talked about it. Like,
you're on it. You're not wrong. Let's go down to the 6K because I think if we get a couple of those guys, we can make it work. So, McDriver.
Yeah, I like McDriver to have a good race. For me, the other one is Priest. Like I love him in this spot.
That's the call. I guess my question is, I just want to look at a number. I'm just throwing somebody in. So do we want a Gilliland paired with a Larson? Or do we want like a Busher, Bubba?
So I think that's the safest build.
Busher, Bubba?
Yeah, something of that nature. Just because, I mean, you expect them to run a lot stronger than where they qualified.
Yeah, and honestly, I think with Truex and with the McDriver, I think it's fine. And we could go up. We could get McDowell out and go up to Gregson or Hocevar if you feel better about that. But I'd much rather have the 35th place McDowell.
Exactly. Yeah, the starting position is the difference for me there.
All right, that lineup was way too easy to build, so I'm sure it's going to be trash, but that's okay.
It's going to be a repeat of what was that, Darlington, when Truex wrecked Blaney?
Yeah, don't even put that into the environment. Come on now.
I'm just saying, man.
I may turn
full
the TV
circle
off.
moment. Full circle.
If that happens early, the TV is going off, maybe out the window. You see me on like the Bleacher Report betting. Like the Cowboys fans losing their shit. All
That's
right,
hilarious.
no Truex in this one. What do you think about the double Penske start?
I don't hate that because you get the potential of the early dominator in Logano. That is, of course, if he's able to somehow get around Truex, or even if Truex leads the first stage or most of the first stage, and then Joey Logano flips it and grabs the lead, and then Blaney jumps Logano to finish the race first, and Logano finishes second, and they both have between the two of them like 200 laps led.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have to get cute this week. We can play the hits. I'm fine going back to Priest. I'm fine going back to. I mean, we could do Bubba. We can do. I don't know that I love Logano.
Yeah, I think that's a great pivot from the vantage point of when you consider two of the top three finishers in all of the Phoenix championship races have been championship 4 drivers. And
Yeah.
just looking at the field, I think it's fair to say that the two most popular guys this week are going to be William Byron and Ryan Blaney, based on where they're starting, based on their price, based on odds.
We're going to get a little gross here. Kazman, welcome to the squad.
Love my guy,
Ryan
Kaz.
Priest, welcome to the squad. That gets us
Oof.
8K for per spot. So I'm once again asking you, do we want to go up and down, or do we want to grab Bubba, Bowman, Barry?
So I was just going to say, we don't have any Barry.
We don't have any Barry, and that gets us open to.
It's got to be a Ford, though. Think about this. This is literally the all Ford.
All right, welcome to the squad, Brad Keselowski.
Oh my gosh.
It's
I don't hate it though. I mean, look, we could see a repeat of 2022 with Blaney and Logano just running up front all day and running away from the field, which, I think something else that's important to consider here is the fact that how both of them all week have been echoing, to steal a moniker from Michigan, but the team. It's all about getting Roger Penske the win. Neither of them have said up until today, Joey Logano saying he wants to put his foot on his opponent's throat, but neither of them have really been outspoken about the fact that they want to win for them. Everything has been they want to win for Roger. And so I think it's fair to assume that if they can, then as a tandem early, you're going to see that.
Yeah.
And then they'll battle it out between the two
I
of
was
them.
watching his interview from maybe Friday or maybe Thursday, where he was talking about Penske wants to win races. That's all they want. That's all they care. Championships. Doesn't matter the format. Doesn't matter anything. They're not here to make money. They're here to win championships. So, you want to start with a Blaney Byron build here?
Yeah, I think that's going to have to be.
Do you have any interest in doing something not including YRB?
Not particularly.
Okay, good. I don't really either, but I didn't want to force it if there was something on the table that you thought could make sense.
Look, all things equal, Ryan Blaney is going to be a top 3 car on Sunday. I don't think there's an argument to be made otherwise.
So my other question to you is, do you want to try and jam in another expensive guy? We can go back to the Truex. Well, I don't love it, but given the information he provided, given how fast he looks and what he wants to do,
I like
fine jamming him in. We can also jam in a Larson if you want to do more of a Hendrick focus here and not do such balance, because, like I said, it's so much more comfy balancing out your lineups, where pushing in on the elite names, even if it means Kazman, Priest. I mean, we can even get more gross. Yeah, if we want to do
no, look,
let's just see what we have salary wise. Let's get gross with our next 3 picks, And
Okay.
let's see where we end up. So Kaz is going in, even though I think he sucks.
It doesn't matter if he sucks. All he's got to do is survive and not suck any worse than the guys behind him.
I'm gonna put, this might be a little aggressive, Gilliland.
I mean, what if you just do both FRM guys?
What?
Solid. What if you just do both FRM guys?
Yeah. What's Barry's price?
So Gilliland and McDowell.
Barry's 74. That gets us to 10-1. That puts us on Larson.
Yeah, but from what I saw out of Larson, like, look, I'm holding a 14-1 outright ticket just because I couldn't pass that number up. But I don't know. I just don't think he has a race-winning car. And when you
have
look
any
back at
interest in
Phoenix, like,
Ross?
based on practice, no. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ross Chastain is out there running up front. And we've all seen he is impossible to pass, especially at a track as difficult to pass already as Phoenix.
That's the lineup. That's the championship lineup right there.
I love that.
We could go. Do you
Nope,
want
I don't think we make a
McDowell over
change.
Gilliland? Because we can go like this.
So my only worry to that is I would say probably McDowell's better than Gilliland here, but with this being, kind of the carryover race into the beginning of the season, like no team wants to end the year bad. And with them retaining Gilliland next season, as opposed to McDowell leaving for Spire, I mean, they're not going to do this, but I think they would prefer to have Gilliland have a good run as opposed to McDowell.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Done. Let's ride.
I love that lineup. And it's going to be the Kaz man that puts us over the edge.
All right, now let me go to the lobby.
And let me just say, by the way, we're almost 40 minutes in here, and I have still been live with this shitty internet. So thanks for holding on with us.
Just a glutton for punishment, aren't you? You want to tank your internet. You want to tank YRB.
Look, I'm just trying to be real here. Okay.
All right. So let's go look at odds.
Some interesting happenings.
Yeah. Do you want to start with the championship talk first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let me see. Because where was the best price? I don't want
it's below that.
No, I know, but was this? Yeah. So championship winner. So they don't have to necessarily win the race. Would just be the first car of the four. Blaney's 165, Logano 165, Byron 3, Reddick 7.
That's stupid.
If you don't have any Tyler Reddick and you need to balance exposure, if you don't have any outright championship bets and you want someone,
yep.
Brian and I both talked about it. Reddick was not the best car. He's probably fourth of the four. But 7-1 is too long on a guy who's been as good as Tyler Reddick has been, as strong as Tyler Reddick has been, as, clutch getting that win at Homestead. He was arguably the second best car here in the spring. When the race had him as the second best car in their true performance rankings. Yeah, it may be not, you may not win, but given the number and the circumstance and what you need, He could be what Blaney was last year and be the third best car
And
and win.
look, was that yeah, I think it was Darlington. This is the same guy who was literally battling the flu to run
And shit in
12th
his
or
pants,
14th.
literally.
Yeah, and he hung on to win the regular season championship. Are you going to doubt the fact that they are going to do literally everything and anything to put him in a position to win the championship? He's only racing Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and William Byron. It does not matter if he wins the race or not. So when you're going to give me a 1 in 4 chance at 7-1, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's
like
not like
looking
he's
at
driving an RWR car here.
no, he's driving a 2311 Beast. It's going to be souped up. If you look at the
Exactly.
practice reports over on Win the Race, his late run was great. And at Phoenix, the late run is massive. If you can keep it
And
on the track, you can get that
yep,
late run, you will have a very good chance at being the Cup champion. And Reddick could absolutely do that. And 7-1 is just, if it was 450 or 350, not buying. But 7-1, if you can get it at MGM, there's a few shops that have it. 657, I'm fine with.
yeah,
Below that, no, not buying. But that number doesn't make sense. The only reason Brian and I really bet Logano 2 years ago is because he was basically double everyone else.
exactly.
And Logano, like, he won the championship here 2 years ago, but like he's not awesome at Phoenix. He's
No.
good at grabbing track position, maintaining it, and getting there. But like
And I
if this was just like a spring race, he'd be like what, 14, 16-1?
well, yeah, and I think there's two things that you have to strongly consider when trying to bet Phoenix too, is that it doesn't matter who the best car is. The only thing that matters here, in my opinion, really is who is up front. Because clean air here at Phoenix is king in these Gen 7 cars. We saw it last year with Ross Chastain absolutely run away from everybody when
Yeah.
there was no sign of him winning during practice. He was good. He was going to be a contender up front, but not to that extent. And then, Tyler Reddick, if he gets out front, he's going to be fast as shit too.
Yeah.
And the second point I wanted to make is if you've watched the trucks and the Xfinity races, the high line, much lower than at Homestead, uh, clearly, but the high line has been the preferred line here. And of the 4 championship drivers, if you're going to tell me I need somebody to go to the outside to make a pass, I'm going to take Tyler Reddick all day, every day, any race in that
Yep.
instance. And so you're going to give me 7-1 when it's all the marbles, all of your money is put into the center of the table here. Yeah, I'm going to take that.
All right. So we're willing to bet Reddick at that number. Obviously, both of us are holding better numbers, so we're not betting it. But
Yeah.
didn't you say Caesars had a boost?
Yeah. So Caesars, but it was for the race win.
Oh, never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Not the
Yeah.
championship.
I'm not super interested in Reddick for the race win. I don't
No,
know that
not
I want to
really.
bet anyone for the race win, to be honest. Given where we're at, I think Blaney wins. That says anything.
Yeah. But you're
Blaney
not
at
betting
250, I can't bet that.
2.5. No.
Logano at 250, can't bet that. Byron at 425, can't bet that. Bell, Truex, Larson at 10 is sort of interesting. I want to see something. I don't think it's gonna let me do it, but I'm
No.
curious.
They got cooked yesterday in trucks. I know what you're doing here, but
Where's my?
oh yeah, they didn't even pop it up on the bet card.
Where'd it go? It was there.
Yeah, they just don't like you. I can already tell you they're not allowing people to do that because I tried it. Don't worry.
There's that. No, then it goes away.
Oh yeah, see,
Anyways, I thought I could. I was just seeing if that was any had any sort of chance. So I guess let's talk. Is there anyone you're betting currently or considering betting in terms of outright race winner. Like, I'm just flipping over to Caesars to see the difference in prices, but I mean, Logano's 4 over here. Like the MGM number on Logano is pretty short. It's too short, to be honest. But do you have any interest in anyone outright for the race win?
Look, if you want to have some fun this week and go out for the feels, like, I don't mind going to Truex at 9. This is a guy that when he qualifies well, he looks good in practice. He's going to have a strong car. Now, obviously, like you said, when we were talking about him in DFS, his range of outcomes is as volatile as Kyle Larson, who can win or finish with a DFL. So, it's hard to get down on a 9-1 price on a guy that hasn't won. I calculated it out in 51 friggin' races, but he's been successful at Phoenix before. Albeit his last 2 polls here resulted in 5th place runs. That doesn't exactly exude the best confidence, but if you're going to go with anybody on an outright, I don't mind Truex. If you don't have any, I don't think he's going to win, but Larson at double digits is not something that you could pass over easily at an oval. That's not a super speedway. And then, maybe Chastain, but for me with him, he has to steal. He has to get to the front. I don't think he has the car to drive past people.
Those are the 3 names for me: Ross, Truex, and Larson. Larson, just because if this was not the championship 4, he's like 556, 6.5 maybe. So to get him a double digits,
not
nice.
even. I think he's probably 4 with Logano and
honestly, Byron. Chase at 20. I don't know if I think he's going to win. He'd be a distant 4th, but I could see getting there at 20. And Ty Gibbs, like, he's going to win eventually, but it's not this week. Honestly, I'd rather bet Briscoe at 50.
I would rather bet Chris Buescher at 75 if we're being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I
if
think
any team is going to find the speed on Sunday.
Yeah, if you want to bet some stuff, like get fun. Like, go beyond. Like, I think obviously Larson's fine at double digits, but like a Buescher and a Briscoe and something else ticket could be fun.
Yeah, and I think we saw this last year too, where the sports books they weigh the championship 4 guys so heavily, and so they're taking on the vast majority of the hold in these markets, and so you're getting elongated numbers on other guys that wouldn't normally be priced like this. Whereas, a guy like Buescher and Keselowski, going back to the spring, they were probably 30, not 75.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the champion, assumedly winning the race, which last year broke that streak. But something else I noticed going back to when we used to run the championship race at Homestead, I didn't realize this because we weren't really doing this stuff, but almost never, I think it was maybe twice, the last 2 times they ran there, had a championship 4 driver actually grab the pole for the championship race at Homestead, so that was a weird ass streak that was happening. And then all of a sudden now we were in this thing where the champion just always won the race. And then Chastain finally cracked the door open to allow other teams to maybe say, hey, like, why are we letting these guys just go out and win because they're the championship guys? Like, F that. We want to win and let them have their cake on the side.
So BetMGM has Chase Briscoe and Chris Buescher at 80. I don't necessarily know I love them to win, but I will take 80 to 1 for a fraction of a unit, as I have most of my bets tied in futures. And maybe, just maybe, they find a way to get it done.
Well, and I was just going to say, like, there's no better way to hedge off of your Chris Buescher under 1.5 wins than betting 80 if you were to add that.
It's a fantastic point. Fantastic point.
You're sitting pretty right there if you bet that.
All right. So Brian has Truex from early in the week at 22. I had nothing from pre-practice, which is crazy. I've added Briscoe and Busher. I've also found a couple other bets that will be featured in our Substack, AOP Podcast.substack.com. Once again, AOP Podcast.substack.com. It will list all of our bets in our betting card. We'll also have some extra write-ups in there. Write-ups. We'll have DraftKings thoughts as well, our favorite DraftKings targets. Brian Twining. Anything else for the fine people before we close this? It's almost midnight here. It's probably 1:00 in the morning. I'm guessing you'll get like maybe 5 hours of sleep and then you'll be off to the
I
track
was just gonna
again.
say, yeah, about 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah. So
So worth
um,
it. So worth it.
oh, the best. I'm glad we were able to get this done. I'm glad that you're there. If you are at the track, if you are watching the championship race, send Brian a little DM. He can or drop it in the comments or whatever. Maybe we'll swing through. Our Grid Rivals League is coming down to the final race. Very excited to see how that plays out. If you are in front of Brian and I, please hop up in that DM and let us know your handles so we can make sure that when you win, if you are the winner, we'll take care of you. We appreciate everybody who joined us in that league this year and played. It was a lot of fun. We'll definitely try and do some more of that kind of stuff next year.
Oh
If
yeah,
there's
definitely.
contests like that or other contests that you think would be fun for us to do as a community, we're always looking out for that kind of stuff. We're also looking out for information. We obviously want to try and keep the content rolling in the off season, as well as build this show out, build the newsletter out, all that good stuff heading into 2025. Uh, over 1,000 subs. Very excited to do that. Want to keep that number growing. Let's build it. Tell your friends. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. You can also subscribe to our Substack completely free in your email every race day. For the final time, Brian Twining, this is our last
So sad.
DraftKings show of the year. We'll be back next week to recap the championship. Hopefully, talk about YRB or Tyler Reddick being in victory lane. Brian will be back in the friendly confines of his San Diego homestead.
And
Um,
no legal betting,
and
unfortunately.
no legal betting, but where there's a will, there's a way. We'll make it work.
Oh yeah.
That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Appreciate everybody who's ridden with us all year. You guys are all the best. Thank you so much. For the final time, good luck, win all the money, and we'll talk to you next time.